Well, Germany is continuing to evacuate citizens and at-risk Afghans from Kabul in a sign of support. The parliament here in Berlin has retroactively given the rescue operation its overwhelming backing. German Chancellor Angela Merkel told lawmakers today that she is open to talks with the Taliban, calling their takeover in Afghanistan a, quote, bitter reality.
Desperate Afghans are still trying to escape their country. But the German parliament is already trying to learn lessons from the last few weeks. Chancellor Merkel acknowledged there had been failures to understand what was happening on the ground in Afghanistan. But she said now there was a new bitter reality which had to be faced. Our goal must be to safeguard as much as possible what has been achieved in Afghanistan in the past 20 years. The international community must also address this issue with the Taliban. However, there cannot be and must not be any unconditional agreements. Opposition parties called for an inquiry into intelligence failures and the chaotic evacuations. Green Party leader Annalena Baerbock said the government had acted too slowly because it wanted to continue deporting migrants to Afghanistan. If we want to live up to our responsibility as the German parliament, even to the smallest extent, then we have to explain why this disaster happened and not gloss over it. Left Party leader Dietmar Bartsch accused the government of wanting to pick and choose who it will save. Do you believe that when the Taliban take their revenge on people, they will stick to our bureaucratic rules? There needs to be a fair rescue for everyone. Germany has already evacuated more than 4,000 people from Kabul, but the fear now is the window to do that is closing. The defence minister said on Wednesday evening the rescue effort would continue. Those who have been promised that they can come can rely on that promise. It still applies. It applies indefinitely. We will provide all necessary help to get them out of the country. As Germany discusses what assistance it should have given and should yet give, time is running out for those who want to flee.
Well, I'm joined now by our political correspondent, Simon Young. Good evening to you, Simon. Let's talk a moment about mistakes. Merkel admitted that she was wrong about the speed of the Taliban's offensive, but that's really as far as she was willing to go in her speech today, wasn't it?
Yes, Brett, she was somewhat contrite. She admitted that mistakes had been made, especially in the analysis of what was happening in Afghanistan in the last few weeks. And she also promised an investigation, not just into the pull-out phase and what's clearly gone wrong there, but also into Germany's whole involvement in Afghanistan over the last 20 years, the good and the bad. But she did push back a little bit. You know, she was saying, well, it's not just Germany who's made these mistakes. Many of the international partners also got it wrong, as it were, on how quickly the Taliban would advance. And she also pointedly said it was easy to be wise after the fact. And it's difficult to get precise information, she said, from Afghanistan at the best of times. But I mean, against that, I think you do have to say, experts have been warning for at least 10 years that after the West pulled out, the Taliban was likely to return. And the second point, it was always clear that a good plan would be needed to rescue those who worked closely with Germany and other Western nations. So the question remains, why wasn't it in place?
And Simon, Merkel says that the world needs to engage with the Taliban instead of cut ties. I mean, and that is the typical Merkel realistic view of the world that we've come to expect, isn't it?
Yes, she called it a bitter reality, but one that had to be faced. And she said it's necessary to talk to the Taliban to try and, exert some kind of influence over them, not to undo all the achievements, all the positives of the last 20 years, if that's going to be possible. You have to say they may find themselves, Western governments that is, talking to the Taliban more about who's allowed to leave. And some of the opposition parties in Parliament today were saying, well, we may be, facing a high price demanded by the Taliban for individuals. It may not come to negotiations specifically, but I think it's pretty clear once the Americans have left, and the Taliban have full jurisdiction over Kabul, these extractions, they're just not going to be possible anymore.
Yeah. And we'll be talking with you later in the day, Simon, about the crisis in Afghanistan and the possible impact it could have on the national election here in Germany next month. We'll be talking with you in about half an hour.